Hello everybody, this is the 6.1 story for Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Let's just get straight into it. Newfound adventure. Tatar is putting on a pot of tea and looks in need of company. Tatar, how lovely to see you. If you're not in too much of a rush, I was about to make a pot of tea. Would you like a cup? Take a seat then, and I'll find there's something to nibble on as well.
It's so much quieter these days without everyone around. Not that I'm pining for your return, you understand. I have my sources, and I know that each and every one of you is doing well and keeping busy with your endeavors. Meanwhile, I'm left with a surplus of free time and the question of how to make the most of it. What about you? Any plans for the immediate future? Traveling to the edge of existence and back wasn't enough? Well, if that's the case, I might have a suggestion for you. You've fought bravely and selflessly, helping those in need and saving our star from unimaginable threats. For your deeds, you've been hailed as the champion of Eorzea and a host of other incredible things. But why not put those titles aside for a while? Acquit yourself as a simple adventurer again, and travel the world in search of wonder. Spirit? I can feel from here the blazing fire that just lit in your belly. Now, all you need is a destination. If you're having trouble deciding, just leave it to me. Thavnair. That's where you should go next. I doubt you were able to squeeze in a proper tour of Radzatan the last time you were there. What with the burning skies and rampaging monsters and so forth. And I'm sure Vritra would be pleased to see you. Then there's the bounty itself. The Empire's presence in the region was always a deterrent to exploration. So if you've a mind to sail that sea, now's your chance. Just think of all the new experiences you could have.
Tell me, have you been to the ruins beneath the waters of the Bounty? As the bearer of Azem's crystal, you may consider your duty to see at least that much.
Oh, I know that look. That's an adventurer ready to take on the world. In anticipation of an occasion like this, I was planning to gift you a new set of traveling clothes, but it's still a work in progress. Shouldn't take much longer now though, so sit tight and I'll have the last few bits sewn up before you can finish another cup of tea. stitch in here and trim in there. Knot the threads with love and care. Just a little more to go. I'm sure you're still brimming with excitement. I am one with the needle. See how the fabric surrenders to my whims. Don't worry. I'll make sure the lining has plenty of pockets for all your little treasures. I swear adventurers are worse than children when it comes to hoarding every feather and leaf and animal hide they come across.
Don't tell her.
Oh, we mustn't forget the waterproofing. Gods forbid you forget to disrobe before plunging into the sea, or a river, or a piping hot bath.
Where in the world is... What is that? Where is this, and who is that?
And thus I am returned.
What the freak is that? Oh. Huh. Okay. But what it... Alright. They've already got the cliffhangers started. Okay.
Ah, you're awake. My apologies. I do get a little carried away with my sewing. You seem awfully cheerful. Pleasant dream? Or are you just looking forward to the next chapter of your grand saga? Either way, I promise to provide you with new apparel, and so I shall. If you'll accompany me to the Diamond Forge, we can put the finishing touches on your outfit. Shall we?
All right. I still have questions as to what I just saw. Something returning can't be good. It looked like a... kind of like a void scent, actually. But I don't actually know. Observe as the artiste refines her piece into a masterpiece. And no napping this time, I only need a moment. You'll see. Hey, don't call us out like that. You're right though. A little more room on the shoulders, open up the cuffs, a final adjustment to the hem. All done. Let's see how it looked on the mannequin. Hey! Well, what do you think? Doesn't it just scream ready for a bold new adventure? Absolutely it does. Hey, I'm gonna wear that. Like so much. I'm so glad you approve. You have outdone yourself, Tataru. Thank you. Very true though. Oh, stop, it makes me blush. If you really want to thank me though, all I ask is that you wear this on your travels. Oh yeah, of course. Or at least anywhere. Lots of adventures like Gatherer. But look at you, a famous hero, and wonder, wherever did she purchase so stylish yet practical garments? Oh my gosh. And before you know it, hordes of new customers will be climbing over each other to place orders at Taru's boutique. She can get so much money from this. I can hear it now, the merry clink clink of guilt overflowing from my coffers, sweet music to my ears. Hey, that's awesome. Okay. That is awesome. Virgin Merchant Empires aside, you must be excited to start a fresh chapter of your life. New places to go, new people to meet. I often wonder how you will remember all your experiences and exploits without taking at least a few notes. True. Oh, maybe you should just start doing that. You never know when some odd past detail might come relevant, or if one day you'll take a blow to the head and forget the better part of the past decade. Something to keep in mind in any case. Oh. This is actually really cool. Oh, I actually really like this. Okay. That is awesome. Unending codex not available under collection. New entries for prominent items and characters will be added to the codex as soon as you progress through anything across. Cool. I love that. Like a lot. Okay, not gonna lie to you. We're gonna take the moment to just like glam over these pieces. I'm always so quick to like start getting glam parts ready. However, I don't have pants. You know what, that actually, it works. And there we go. Bountiful Ruins. She has some advice to share. Okay. As the former receptionist and sometimes intelligent gatherer of the Scions, allow me to offer you a word of advice. Do not expect juicy rumors to simply fall into your lap. Adventurers rely on gossip, and the best places to pick up information are taverns and markets. At present, you only have a broad destination in mind. When you arrive in Thavner, I suggest you explore your options at Miraid's Marine, the finest drinking establishment in Razatan. Charm the employees, and they'll not only point you in the right direction of the local tale-tellers, but also share with you the tricks for loosening their tongues. Now, I really must be getting back to running my boutique. Enjoy the journey, Adele, and may the fair fortune find you. Cool. Alright. Time to go do some research. A little bit of gossip in mind as well, mind you. Didn't have it either way. It's Malil. Welcome to Miraid's Marine. Hi. Oh, hello. I did not recognize you at first. Are you here alone? Let me find you a table. Actually, I'm here to find out if you have any information, or if you know anybody that might have information. Ruins beneath the bounty. Would you be speaking of the sunken treasure vault? We have one regular, a historian in fact, who can tell you all about it. Ah, there he is. Professor Jolene. I thought I saw him come in. Although a somewhat private sort, the professor is quick to befriend those who share his fondness for the Marine's unique beverages. Offer him any drink from our selection, and he should happily share everything he knows about the vault you seek, and a few other odd bits besides. Whatever you buy from him is on the house, by the way. If Marie found out I was taking coin from Thavnir's savior, she would have me scrubbing pots for a week. I mean, I'd buy it. It's okay. Yes. Right. What do you know about the ruins? And what may I do for you, my Eorzean friend? Just a funny chat. How about a drink? Well, I certainly wouldn't say no to a drink freely offered. Here we are, one of Maraid's finest. Enjoy. Ah, lovely. Bottoms up. He empties the cup in a single pull. My man's a savage. That was very kind of you, miss, but I know when I'm being softened up. What is it that you want from me? Wanted to know about the vaults. Let me have secrets. Oh, chasing down that old tale, are you? It does seem to appeal to the adventurous at heart. Now, where to begin? Might I assume you've heard of Altador? He was Khan of the Ori tribe which sailed to Thavnir from the mainland, and a key figure in the history of Razathan. His decision to aid the Arkasudara is what ultimately won them the war against the Gajasura, thus allowing our predecessors to lay the foundation for this thriving city-state. The truly fascinating stories, however, concern his grandson, Altador III, who was known for his deeds as satrap in Razathan's earlier days. Some attest that this man has traveled to another world entirely and returned with glittering riches. Others that he brokered an alliance with a certain worm of the first brood. Then there is this tale of the sunken vault, the one that you seem most curious about. According to this legend, Altador III claimed a small island somewhere in the middle of the bounty. There he built a structure reaching clear to the bottom of the sea, a deep and secret storehouse, and locked all his worldly wealth within. In the centuries since, whenever a natural disaster or hardship befell Razathan, folk would remember the tale of hidden treasure. Hardy souls would set out to claim this fortune. The precious few ever made it home. Would you like to hear more? Apologies, I might have a slight tickle and, oh, my cup appears to be empty. Let's get him another one. Ah, I see we've reached an understanding. You are a sharp one, adventurer. Another for the professor. Ho ho! Today was a splendid day to visit the man. Julian gulps on his newest drink with gusto. My man is feeling it. Where were we? Ah, yes. Those who did return from seeking the treasure vault flatly refused. Oh. Did this discourage others? Nay, quite the opposite. Such accounts only served to feed the legend, and the golden lure grew stronger than ever before. That reminds me of something Azuma was saying. Azuma is a fellow connoisseur of spirituous potables. Yes, he is. Anyway, he was saying that one of his acquaintances went after the treasure himself. Hasn't been since he set sail, I hear, but he did have no, I can't say no more. You seem a generous sort. What kind of man would I be to encourage what is clearly a foolhardy request? If my word sent to you to your death, I could never live with myself. I mean, I'm kind of a strong guy. Or girl. Is that so? Perhaps it's your turn to tell a tale then. What manner of dangers have you faced? Oh, you know, went to the end of the galaxy. The very edge of existence? From anyone else, I'd struggle to believe it, but I recognize you now. You're the hero of the final days. A drink. I need another drink to settle my nerves. Malia, one more of the same, if you please. As you wish, but this one's on your own coin, Professor. He yet drains another cup dry. Anyway, you being who you are, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to share a little more. This friend of Asma's, who was desperate to buy a treasure map, one which showed the way to the entrance of the vault, seems he could only get it from some merchant. What's his name? I forget. Let's drink a toast to you, my new best friend. Lil, more drinks. Let's get you some water. Your drink, sir. Ah, marvelous. I'm parched. That was water. Did you tell her to bring me water? Still, that's probably for the best. Very kind of you, really. My head will certainly thank you in the morning. Ugh, I seem to overindulge. I am put in mind of words of Master Zahn. Be worried how much you drink, you swallow us, it swallow you. Forgive me, I will subject you to no more of these unseemly antics. If you want to speak to Azama, well, as I said, we share a taste for Armenian's fine spirits. He probably came in as we were talking. I wish you fortune in finding your fortune. You appear to have learned all you can regarding the undersea vaults. Jalene, to find out more, you could look at a man by the name of Azama. Okay. Okay. Just gonna jump over that, but I'll just walk. Yes, I am Azama, and who might you be? Oh, true, I'm afraid. My friend took a ship out in search of Altador's legacy, and I've been watching for his sails ever since. I tried to dissuade him, of course, but he refused to listen. All he can do is talk about finding that vault. And that look in his eyes, I knew it wasn't common gold or jewels he lusted after. He was hunting Altador III's otherworldly hoard, and his ambition would not be denied. I see it in you too, that appetite for the mysterious and the unknown. But I'll not attempt to turn you from your path. I know too well the futility of that endeavor. So I will tell you what my friend told me, how he convinced the merchant in the bazaar to give him the rough location of the vault's entrance. It seems this merchant, one Zashal, I believe, is selling a map which shows the exact route, but my friend's purse was too tight for its exorbitant price. With what meager wealth he had, he instead paid to learn that there are ruins on a small island somewhere in the bounty, and within those ruins hides the path to the vault deep below. If you truly intend on seeking Altador's treasure, I suggest you put your affairs in order. I wish things were different, but I do not believe my friend is ever coming home. Yeah.
Please, Zashal, please! You must let me have that treasure map!
What's all this about?
My mother and father were slaughtered by monsters. My baby sister, still too young to fend for herself. Can you spare us no kindness?
So, you hope to find your fortune? And what? You expect me to surrender my wares for pity's sake? What have you to offer in payment? As I thought. Come back when you've more than rags to your name. This is no mere treasure map. It is a guide to the vaults of Altador III, one of the great satraps of Radzat-Han, and a direct descendant of Alzadal Khan.
A map to Alzadal's legacy.
So he says. A fake, I'd wager.
This is no fake. The parchment is marked with an arcane glyph of passage. You may find the ruins hidden in the bounty, but you won't be setting foot inside without this in your possession. A priceless artifact it is, discovered amongst the rubble in the aftermath of the final days, and lovingly restored by yours truly. This map is the key to fabulous riches, and I'll be the king of fools to simply give it away. Be glad I am no such king, boy. Your scrawny-eyed would never return with that treasure alive.
Oh, cruel fate! Why must you tempt me with wealth I am powerless to claim? How I shall envy the one who purchases that precious map! Whatever they pay will be but pittance against the golden hoards they stand to uncover.
What of you, sir? Fighting man of your stature would surely relish the challenge of recovering Alzadal's lost fortune.
A fortune, you say?
If I had but the strength to seize that treasure, my starving sister would never want for food.
I'll take it. Will this cover the price? Well met, my friend. Someone is dressed for adventure. But why Favner of all places? Knowing you, I suspect there's more to your plans than sightseeing and shopping. Ruins beneath the bounty. Curious. And here I've acquired a map to just such a site.
With that sale, I do believe I've earned the rest of the day off. Thank you for your patronage, sir, but if you'll excuse me.
You needn't mind us.
And now I fleece one of the heroes of the final days. Pray the sisters were looking elsewhere.
This map may or may not be genuine. Either way, we'll need a ship to find out for sure. Lest you misunderstand, I seek the treasure not for myself. If such a fortune truly exists, then it could help ease the struggles of those who lost their loved ones in the final days. I hope to do for Thavnir what you and Alphino did for the Alamegans when you recovered the Mad King's trove. Come now. You know Alphino needs little encouragement when it comes to recounting the tales of your shared exploits. Speaking of precocious lads, that boy in the bazaar was clearly an accomplice of the merchant. Suppose his role was to draw the attention of the crowd and add weight to the merchant's bold claims. Transparent act for the most part. It was not all mummery. The need to provide for his sister rang true enough. Thus, if some portion of the profits end up in that waif's pockets, then I will consider it money well spent, whether the map leads us to the vault or not. You are coming along, yes? I thought as much. Now, let's see about securing a vessel.
That little kid should feel a little bit guilty. I'm sure he does. You will recall I spoke of visiting Thavnir at Vitra's request. Well, he finally invited me to a feast and made his proposal once I was too full of Hannish delights to refuse. He wishes me to train the Radiant host in lance work. But that is a tale for another time. What we need now is a merchant or a trawler with a ship fit for the open seas. Mattia is a fisherman by trade, yes. We should head to Akiali and see if he can help us. My friends, what brings you to our humble village? We need a ship to go under the bounty. The vault, that is. So, you need to see where the vessels to seek these ruins. Considering it was your deeds which allowed us to return to fishing, I should think everyone would be glad for a chance to repay the favor. Wait here and I will have a boat stocked and ready for you in no time at all. Have you noticed our little shadow? He's been following us since we left the city. We see you there, boy. Show yourself. Ah, it is you. Do you know how far out of your way we walked so that you not cross paths with some wild beast? I'm sorry, sir, but you aren't the hero. Aren't you the heroes who saved Thavnir? You are. I know you are. And I've gone and chased you. Cheated you. I work with Zashal, you see, the map merchant. It is my job to play the pleading orphan and convince the crowd his wares are worth the price he asks. I'm ashamed of what I've done and beg for your forgiveness. If not for you, my sister and I would never have... Well, we'd be... Enough. I knew your game, and I paid the price willingly. A fortunate purchase, as it turns out, for my friend here was seeking those very ruins. you are kind to overlook the wrong I have done you, but there is more you need to know. The map you bought is very real, as is the island it shows. I overheard Zoshal selling the information to another customer. He told that man where he needed to search about the ruins, about the vault, about everything. Then the man sailed out to find his fortune, never to return. You cannot go alone to that place. You should have more friends with you, maybe even a whole army. I do not doubt the ruins hold danger, but I assure you, between the two of us, there is little that we cannot overcome. Please, I cannot bear the thought of... We might need a hand moving the treasure. Assuming we find any. Still, it may prove wise to bring some companions along the same. Any ideas on who to approach? Scions have scattered far and wide since our last gathering. Let's ask Isu. Crowd may have her hands full rebuilding the students, but if you reach out to Graha, he would surely be about the invitation. Will that set your mind at ease? Yes, if that man is as strong as you. Is he though? Strong, I mean? Oh yeah. What is your name, boy? It's Mirad, sir. Well, Mirad, your life is yours to live as you will, but I suggest you find a more honest trade if you truly wish to keep your sister safe. I'm not proud of what I do, but what choice do I have? We need to eat, and everyone's too busy rebuilding their own lives to bother with two grubby orphans. Wait, boy. I didn't take this roundabout road just to see you end up in some creature's belly. Let me walk you back to the city gates. Thank you, sir. Call me a Sessiion. Little apprentice? And kind of friends for the road. Seeing music for safety. I shall leave you to Graha, to recruit Graha. He'll appreciate the invitation that much more, I'm sure. As I recall, he was based at the Annex. Someone there ought to be able to point you in the right direction. Let us be off too, Mirad. Do me a favor and don't stray from the path. Oh, look what it is. Welcome back, Adele. What might the students do for you? I'm looking for Graha and Cryle. Graha, yes, he is in the main hall with Mistress Cryle. They've been holed up in there for days. By all means, go and give them an excuse to take a break.
Urgica, my good man. Would you be so kind as to...
Oh, isn't this a pleasant surprise?
I wish you had sent word ahead. I thought I was having visions for a moment there.
Slow and steady. Raha and I have been compiling old records of the students' activities. We were able to locate several accounts in the archives of Numenon, but the bulk of our documents was lost along with the Isle of Fowl.
But what brings you to the Annex, my friend? Surely you haven't come all this way just to watch us shuffle dusty papers around? The treasure vault of Altador III.
And you're looking for companions to join you on this expedition? I would dearly love to accompany you, of course, but I'm afraid I'm committed to another task. On the subject of which I had hoped to ask for your assistance. Then again, it's not so urgent that it can't wait until you've returned. You should go, Raha. I'll stay here and mind the shop, as it were.
Are you sure? I'd hate to leave you short-handed.
I'm sure. Just try to be back before too many moons have passed.
Well, I guess we're off on another adventure already. Have you asked anyone else to come along? Then might I suggest we invite your Stola? Ever since the Scions disbanded, she's spent most of her time cloistered within the Great Google Library, hoping to piece together a method to traverse the rift. It would seem, however, that whatever wisdom she sought there was not to be found. She arrived in Sessiion the other day. We spoke briefly before she began her search of Newfound. Considering what you've told us of Altador's extraordinary feats, I do believe your Stola would be more than interested to hear what you have to say. Splendid! Then let us head to the archives at once.
Wait, before you go. I have another potential member to volunteer, if you've room to spare. Urianger. He sent the students a request for materials, you see. Treatises on the architecture of treasure vaults and the like. From what I can gather, the Loperites wish to build their own vault for the people of Aetheris to explore, and are looking for inspiration to help make it a memorable experience. So, why not take Urianger with you? Let him study Altador's legacy firsthand.
None can deny the benefit of seeing something with your own eyes. If our expedition leader has no objections, I say we extend Urianger an invitation once we've spoken with your Stola.
Safe travels, you two, but don't forget, I'd still like your help with that other matter I mentioned.
Right. Then it's off to the library.
Saw pudding way.
I've never known Y'shtola to doze off in the middle of research before.
Close my eyes for one moment. Ow! How long have you two been here? Nor did I want to fall asleep. I must have been studying for 2-3 days straight before exhaustion finally claimed me. As you know, I've been researching ways to travel from the source to one of its reflections. Well, looking for hints at least. I don't expect to find a simple set of instructions tucked away in some dark corner of the library. So I've been skimming through the stacks, hoping to uncover even a partial mention of any similar feats in the past. A means to travel between worlds exists, and you can be sure I will find a way to employ it. So I promised Runar, but 'twould seem I've set myself a nigh impossible task.
You needn't be so hard on yourself. The leap I made with the Crystal Tower was not achieved in an afternoon. It was the culmination of a collective effort spanning generations.
Oh, you think me discouraged? I assure you, 'tis quite the opposite. A daunting challenge and the time to sink my teeth into it. I feel like a fresh-faced student again.
A scholar in her element.
Indeed. Was there something else you wish to ask of me? Altador is no minor figure in Harnish history, and much is known about his family. But this is the first I've heard of a descendant surviving a trip to another world. If those tales are true, then he may have left behind some clue as to how it was accomplished. An invitation to delve into one of the world's lingering mysteries. As if I could refuse. And whence do we embark upon this expedition?
Achiali, by ship. But before that, we thought to extend an invitation to Urianger as well. He was in Thalmazane, last we heard.
Then by all means, let us recruit him, and be on our way.
illustrious champion. Cloaked in the mantle of the common explorer, fame set aside in thy pursuit of simple adventure. I am told a new expedition is in the offing. And thee. As ever, thou art the picture of strength.
You've been keeping yourself busy, I trust?
True to our plan, Thancred and I embarked upon a pilgrimage of sorts, with an eye for gauging the state of those lands through which we passed. Our travels were interrupted, however, by a request for aid from our befurred lunar allies. As you may recall, the Loporrits had been seeking new purpose for the moon, another role through which it might serve to benefit mankind. The Forum have been working to advise them in this endeavor, but I return to offer mine own counsel.
And this has what to do with treasure vaults, exactly?
Ah, you have learned of my predicament from Mistress Cryle. I know not whence they acquired such knowledge, but the Loporrits now stand convinced that adventurers delight in treasure hunts. Thus, with their newly built wonderland of riches and mystery, do they hope to entice all manner of daring delvers to the moon? So earnest and innocent was their desire to bring joy to the world that I found myself powerless to refuse them my cooperation. But what of you, my friends? Why are you come to Labyrinthos? Fascinating. This is indeed a most fortuitous opportunity. I should be honored to accept thine invitation. How long hath it been, I wonder, when last our actions were not impelled by fate or desperation?
Aye. Though I cherish the Scion's accomplishments, 'tis pleasant to not have the weight of the world upon our shoulders for a change.
Counting Estinian, we number 5 now, yes? Without knowing what traps or perils await unwary feet, we may be wise to refrain from recruiting others.
I agree. Between us, we should have the skills to handle whatever situation may arise. Shall we be on our way?
What, no time to spare a word for the grizzled old bard?
All is well, I trust?
A wasted trip, I'm afraid. I'd hoped to catch up with a former mentor while you parleyed with the rabbits, but it seems our paths were not to cross. Having an astrologian beside you on the road is surprisingly convenient. And it doesn't hurt that he's making strides with his light-hearted banter. In any case, as we made our way around Ilzabard, we saw that much of the continent was in various stages of chaos. A certain amount of disorder is to be expected. The final days are over, and the people no longer have a common threat binding them together. That's the thing with these fledgling troubles, eh? You need to keep an eye out, lest they mature into full-grown headaches. So, for what reason have so many esteemed personages seemed fit to gather? Beneath the waters of the Bounty, you say? I see you've already stolen away my traveling partner with the promise of unexplored ruins and scholarly glory.
Nay, 'tis not for mine own indulgence, but rather the fulfillment of my commitment to the Loporrits.
Ah, of course. And if you have a Sessiion rounding out your group, you'll likely have all the members you need.
Feeling left out? I could put in a good word for you, if you like.
We may have been released from our obligations, but I'll never be free of that merciless wit of yours, will I? In all seriousness, 'tis best I sit this one out. Too many former Scions consorting with one another might be seen as a cause for concern in certain quarters. I'll return to my usual reconnaissance and scout out the situation in the Far East. Feel free to share if you come across any interesting revelations. Till we meet again.
Shall we also hasten our departure? Sir Estinian will wonder what hath become of us.
I send you to recruit Graha and you return with an entire survey party. I hope Matia's boat is sturdy enough to carry us all. What he means is, we are grateful for the use of one of your precious fishing vessels. We are more than glad for the chance to provide it. I only ask that you take care to steer clear of the reefs and the shallows there. Aye, we will keep an eye out. Altador's legacy. Ishtola is intrigued by the legend of Altador III. Altador III. I confess I am somewhat embarrassed that the tale of this journey to another world escaped my notice. Could it be more than simple folklore? And what are the treasures he supposedly brought back? This undersea vault may hold relics from another reflection. My friends, we should temper our acquisitions. The map doth provide promised ruins, but beyond that we know not what we'll find. Not until we find it, So let us dispense with the conjecture and set sail for the vaults.
Right then.
Alright, here we go. Kind of cool. Okay. love like that's so sick. Alright. Birds of thin air are cleverly hidden. Very true. Huh. Tis a weird breed of jellyfish, one with a sting, I imagine. Classic.
Together we shall overcome this.
Close one. If it had only been a squid, imagine all the dried rations. Oh my gosh. Passage detected. Look, we're deep in the valley. And the map was no fake after all. Let's go, Raha.
Allow me.
And power to Oriange, Graha, and Sessiion. The key guard is mechanical in nature. I'm to heal and take notes.
Together we shall overcome this.
Hold still. Hold still. Hold still.
I only hope the Lockports do not misinterpret that data. Yeah, give me both. Ah, this will more than the price of the map. Wow. secret doors, hidden paths, more elements to consider. Ere long, you shall be a veritable vault expert. Hey. I have twice now done like a triple standard stuff on accident. My bad. All right. Oh. Copy. The looming warden. Okay. Some sort of arcane automaton. Oh, what foolishness is this? That's not awesome. Oh, not again. Okay. I like how the arena has no like money in it, which means there's a secret in here more than just money. We did it! Oh, that is a secret worth upholding now.
What have we here?
'Tis not unlike a Hunnish alchemical furnace in design.
Well, there is one way we might find out.
Stop! You mustn't touch it.
Barshan? What is Vitra doing here?
Vritra! Oh, my apologies. Should I continue calling you Varshan?
You may address me as you wish. My nature is no longer a secret. Still, this is not a setting I imagined for our reunion. Surely you've not entered these ruins as common looters.
Would that we could deny your accusations, but I fear you're not far from the truth.
Great Vritra, might we beseech thee to explain the nature of this strange contrivance?
It was crafted by our alchemists at my behest, for the purpose of sealing something away.
Sealing something.
Perhaps I should simply show you.
What is that thing? Is that a void gate?
I have lifted the seal, if only for the moment, by an authority only I possess.
A planar fissure?
Oh.
No, my friend. Small though it may be, this is a functioning gate into the void.
It is a void gate. Huh. Whoa. Void gates and fissures are much the same thing in practice, in the sense that both allow passage between the source and the 13th. The difference in terminology refers to the circumstances of their creation. A fissure is an identical tear in the fabric between worlds, whereas a void gate is a product of deliberate action. I suspect this is the latter, judging by the elaborate mechanism put in place to control it. To think that our search for material riches would lead to this priceless discovery. That swirling emptiness, it puts me in mind of old friends, not to mention old foes. A brother's grief. Yustola is appraising the void gate with a scholarly eye.
must admit, I am deathly curious to know how a void gate came to be hidden in the depths of these ruins.
To tell that tale, we must first peer far to the south, and even further into memory. An age 5 millennia passed when the Algan Empire sent an invading force to the shores of Mericidia. The southern people rallied around the commanding figures of Bahamut and Tiamat and fought fiercely to repel the would-be conquerors. With Bahamut's defeat, however, the tide turned against them. Desperate to seize any advantage, the Mercidians resorted to summoning primal entities. In response, Emperor Zande forged a covenant with the Cloud of Darkness, sovereign among the all-devouring denizens of the Void. Thus bolstered by icons on one side and Void Scent on the other, the two armies clashed in a battle of unspeakable carnage. So much death, so much loss.
I consider myself well versed in that period of history, yet you speak as one who witnessed it happen.
Indeed, I did. I heard Tiamat's roar of defiance and sped toward that war-torn land. Along with my sibling, Ashdaya. We dragons are not male or female as men are wont to classify, but elder sister is the closest a mortal tongue can come to describing what she meant to me. I was the last of our brood to hatch, and Ashdaya cared for me where my sire could not. Thus I was with her when Tiamat roared. I was with her when she journeyed south, and I was with her when she fought against the Void-sent hordes. Yet no matter how many of their vile fiends we cast down, more rose from the abyss to take their place. Faced with an unwinnable war of attrition, Ashdaya risked her all on a final gamble. She plunged through the Void Gate itself to strike at the root of their strength. I tried to follow in her wake, determined to lend what aid I could. But even as I came upon Alag's glittering tower, I saw the rift close behind her. And Ashdaya has been lost to us ever since.
I find I must retract my earlier claim of historical knowledge. Nowhere in the Crystal Tower's archives did I see mention of such noble sacrifice.
That does not surprise me. To Allagan eyes, it must have seemed as if a lone dragon, driven to madness, simply dove through the gate and did not return. For my part, I spent long years searching for the means to reunite with Ashdaya. Until I could search no more. Until Alag was dust, and the urge to open a void gate large enough to accommodate a dragon forever lost.
Yet you have the beginnings of a gate right here, under the control of a harnessed device.
My discovery came before Radzat Han was founded. Though I scoured the lands for a method to cross the rift, it was beneath the sea that I chanced to find a natural planar fissure. It was, however, far too narrow to admit a worm's bulk. Only after our city rose upon the rock, and I could enlist the aid of our talented alchemists, did matters take a favorable turn. Their dedication was beyond reproach. Tirelessly they worked to expand the fissure, and after decades of toil, it finally grew to a size that a child might pass through.
Not long ago, you told us that you called out to your kin, that Ashdaya's answer was silence. I suspect the conclusion to your tale is not a joyful one.
With hope in my heart, I used a simulacrum to cross the threshold. But no, I did not find her. What I found was a host of void-sent, clamoring around the opening they had sensed. 'Twas but a moment, but enough. I had no choice but to retreat and allow the portal to contract once more.
The gate was a threat to your people. You had to decide between endangering Razathan and abandoning your sister. You chose the latter.
'Twas not that thy siblings scorned thy call. 'Twas that she was trapped beyond a barrier through which neither roar nor dragon may pass. Even now, in the desolate world of the 13th.
I can scarce imagine your pain, yet it was wise not to linger in that place. Too long a sojourn, and even a being of your power risks being warped into a creature of the void. You've seen this phenomenon before, when we stepped into the darkness. As did I. Were it not for Une and Doga, or Nero for that matter, we might never have made it home. Do you remember what happened to Nero? How his wounds allowed the Void's corruption to enter his body and twist his ether? Had it been allowed to progress much longer, I presume he would have been fully transformed.
Then there is little hope for Ashdaya.
Ah, no. I hadn't meant to. I speak only of possibilities. The scales of the First Brood are extraordinarily resistant to ethereal fluctuations. They are the protective talisman's core components after all, and even the corruption I described would struggle to overcome. Of course. With the warding scale in one's possession, one could conceivably survive a stay in the 13th without being warped by its energies.
Be that as it may, it is too late to rescue my sister. 5,000 years too late. And now countless others look to me for guidance and protection. So when I sensed intruders in the ruins, I came only to ensure that the gate remained closed. That, and to secure the treasure, of course. I wish only to forget the rest.
Okay, his sister is definitely still alive, and she's over there in the 13th shard. That's crazy, actually. So they managed to not only to expand the fissure, but also manipulate it as one might a gate. Astonishing. Is there any chance I could learn more of how this feat was accomplished? will tell you what I can. First, however, I must return to the High Crucible and arrange to replace the Guardians you so handily destroyed. It will not do to leave the gate undefended. My apologies. We were perhaps a touch zealous in our rush to uncover the vault's secrets. If the constructs can be repaired, we would be happy to offer our assistance. That will not be necessary. Much as I retain spare vessels for myself, we keep duplicate Guardians on hand for such eventualities. In any case, we should return to Rezaton. Yeah, Ajdaya, Vitra's sister, is definitely alive in 13th, doing something. I would have no clue as to what that could pertain to. I mean, it'd be really weird if she somehow got overpowered by the void and became like something, but 5,000 years of just surviving in that area alone is kind of a lot. So I would like to think that she's just made like a living. Very quiet and simple living. I promise we will discuss the Void Gate further, but first I must attend to the matter of the Vault's Sentinels. As your instruments have no doubt informed you, the Capicolo has been reduced to so much scrap. Please bring a new one out of storage, and see that it is conveyed to a post along with some few lesser constructs. Was it tomb robbers? Fiends born from the Tower of Zot? By the sisters, do not tell me a blasphemy yet roams free. Why such guilty faces? Surely it wasn't you who were responsible for the... Oh. Well, the details aren't important. I shall see it done immediately. And with that, the vault will soon be secure once more. Now, I believe you had questions? Quite a few, in fact, but I'd like to begin with the gate itself. Is it still functional? Yes, it is functional. Indeed, which is why I saw it sealed with an alchemy forged lock and warded it with my magics. Such power must not fall into the wrong hands. In truth, the primary reason for the vault's construction was to keep the gate hidden from the outside world. So much effort for such a little door. That little door you speak of leads to an abyss teeming with unspeakable horrors. That said, in its current state, it would admit only the lowliest of void scent, and from this side, man would be able to pass through. No man, I should think Alphinaud would fit, given a firm enough push. Physical size is only one consideration. The true restriction hinges upon the etheric density of the soul in transits. And yet you succeeded in expanding this mini portal and sending your simulacrum to the 13th. Thanks to my brilliant alchemists, I should have destroyed the anomaly when I found it, but instead I bade them devise a means to control it. After much experimentation, they accomplished the impossible. A method was conceived by which my magics could manipulate the fissure and transform it into a serviceable gate. But the process has long since been forgotten. Once I had given up searching for Ajdaya, there was no need to preserve such esoteric and dangerous knowledge. Thus has the gate lain dormant for years unaccounted. Our own passage to the 13th was made relatively simple thanks to the Crystal Tower. An ancient mechanism channeled the tower's vast stores of energy to open a void gate, one bound to a covenant made from the cloud of darkness. Once that sovereign entity was beaten back, however, the covenant was broken, and the doorway severed its connection to the void. Theoretically, it should be possible to reconnect the gate by forging a new pact with another void cell, but such deals usually end in betrayal and death. Oh, in any case, we should attempt to gain an understanding of the Bounty Gate. Mayhap you can resume the search for your sister. As I've already explained, I put those futile hopes to rest centuries ago. My place and my duty is here now. I meant to ask, what prompted you to search for the vault in the first place? The treasure map. That means that we can probably recruit Diablos too. As you have seen, the fabulous wealth from the stories is quite real, if not its rumored origin, but I'm afraid I must assert a prior claim. I've been aiding to that trove for years, little by little, but the time has come to spend it, that I might alleviate my people's suffering. Then we are of one mind. We had no intention of taking it for ourselves. Isn't that right, my friend? Your Excellency, would you object if I were to conduct a closer examination of the gate? I will make no attempt to open it, of course. I owe you and yours a debt that can never be repaid. Whatever boon you ask of me, you shall have it. You are most gracious. I shall take full advantage of your permission. Would that I could join thee in thy study, but the leopards will be anxious to receive my report. I beg my leave of you. And I must be asked to Charlene as well. Mistress Cryle was eager to speak with you about that request, so please come back to the annex as soon as you're able. Farewell for now. We can discuss my findings once I return. You'll not be rid of me so easily. You can now go on the Chronicles era. Miss the realm. Oh, cool. The difficult part in all this will be deciding how best to put these riches to use. Will you lend me your assistance in these deliberations? Thank you, Adele. Adele and I are in this together. I will follow her example. Meanwhile, elsewhere. Oh, the 13. Sensed the breaching of the gate, but it was not instigated from this side. It was thrown open from the other. I too felt it. A rare occurrence, yes, but such a tiny portal is beneath our notice. There are more pressing matters at hand. An opportunity is upon us, the coming of which we have awaited for nigh on 10,000 years. We dare not let it slip our grasp. Yet, we must not underestimate she who bested the cloud of darkness. Even restrained by the covenant, the cloud was no feeble wisp to be dispensed by some flesh and blood mortal. Bah, let her come. I will drown the world and watch us flushing gasp for breath in her final moments. Your zeal is admirable, but forget not our cause. Think back on our struggles beneath the sunless sky. Remember why we cede not our will to fight. It's 'tis time we set the war in motion and win redemption for our star. It's Golbez. Wow. Sharing the ball. Wish to discuss distribution as well. Okay. Shall we begin? If we are to spend the treasure wisely, then we must first determine which groups would benefit most from monetary assistance. Some of my citizens may find it intimidating to speak with the satrap directly, so I would ask that you act in my stead. You are to visit Akiali and Yeglimad, speak with Matsuya and his people, and listen to their grievances. Sessiion, I bid you to do the same at Palikistan. I will be conducting my own inquiries at the Giant Skull grounds. Once you believe you have ascertained the needs of the populace, we can reconvene at Megaduta. Okay, but it's Golbez in the 4, aren't you? What? So it's Scarmiglione, Conte, Zalisi, and Kanaza? Wow. That's actually kind of nuts. And they need a Void Scent pact to make that Void Gate more. The only Void Gate or Void Scent I can think of that comes into mind with this is Diablos. Because we already defeated the Cloud Darkness. So, if we're looking for like a darkness Void pact, yeah, it has to be Diablos. Oh, Adele, I'm so glad to see you returned unharmed. You finished with the boat then? Anything the village desperately needs? Well, I suppose Calzal's loss hit us the hardest. I've been trying to find buyers for my fish, but although I sell a few here and there, it's so much more difficult than it was before. Everyone's still struggling to rebuild their lives. For now, we're just banding together as best we can. Okay. Okay. I mean, they're trying to get by. I mean, I can't think of any other voids that like immediately come to mind though. Diablos is the really big one. Greetings and welcome, traveler. If this is your first visit to Thavnir, then you must try my special Amrolas. Its refreshing zest cannot be beat. Wait, could such a wonder cost you wonder? Normally I part with 3 bottles for one generous price of 19,800 gil, but for you, I want to go as low as even 10,000. You'd be practically stealing from me. Burn. Still not talking about these days. Times are harsh, my friend. The world may no longer be on fire, but we are still sifting through the ashes, so to speak. Sisters, spare me. We might as well have that ugly tower back for the scant few travelers we see these days. I myself barely have the coin to buy at local prices. I tell you, if I didn't charge the odd adventurer a small fortune for afternoon tea, I'd be scavenging for scraps on the street. Damn. Honestly, I don't blame you though. Considering how the world was earlier today. Dude. Everything okay? How fares the port? Well, it's in shambles, isn't it? The trade routes are open once more now that the danger is past, certainly, but no small number of merchants have had to sell their ships to make ends meet in the short term. Add to that the sailors we lost in the final days, and it's little wonder the flow of exports is no more than a pitiful trickle. If Calzal and his consortium were still with us, I'm sure we have found a way to turn our fortunes around. Now that was a man who got things done. God's rest his soul. Spoke with the key local figures to get an understanding of the populace's hardships. We gotta meet him when we get there. Yeah, I can understand that like everyone's kind of recovering stuff from the final days. Pretty crazy, actually. But that Void Gate, though. That Void Gate is definitely like an issue. Because they also noticed that it was like tampered with. It's kind of nuts. 10,000 years also? Ah, my advisor's return. I've just made it back myself. Why do you retain this vessel now that your true form is known? You could have flown across the island in a fraction of a time. Be that as it may, the sight of a massive creature descending from the sky can be startling to say the least, and there are few places that can enter comfortably without risk of flattening some cart or stall. Fair enough. As for my inquiries, the people of Palakistan were unanimous in their reply. They are surviving. Resources were stretched to the limit when refugees were pouring in, but they persevered with some assistance from Yidlamad. From what I understand, they have always been an independent community, hunters and foragers and the like, and I was assured that the jungle provides for their needs, for the most part. Palakistan has weathered the disaster better than most, it seems. I myself heard good news and bad. The quarrymen were cautiously optimistic, having just sold a full wagon of giant skull to a foreign trader. But such visitors are few and far between. Compared to our best years, the weight of stone leaving Thavnir has been light indeed. Our nation is small and isolated, its prosperity dependent on a steady stream of exports. We must identify any obstacles to the flow of trade so we can begin working to remove them. Tell me, what did you learn in Akiyali and Yidlimad? The people are okay, but they could sell better. Oh, I see. With a dedicated buyer, the average fisherman must struggle to offload his daily catch. Which is why I believe we should first address the lack of ships and shortage of able-bodied sailors in Yidlimad. Agreed. I am reminded of a child I spied as I made my way back to the palace. His father lost at sea when the beasts sunk their vessel. So many variations of the same tragic tale repeated over and over, so many lives lost. Yeah. Have to go around. Enough grief to drown in if we let ourselves be overcome, but we will not. A Palestinian, I consider the perspectives you've brought me, and I devise a plan to help my people confront this adversity. Come, I would like you to be in attendance when I announce the proposal to my assembled functionaries. I'm gonna tell the people, they're kind of cool actually.
Finding myself bereft of his counsel in the here and now, I will assume the responsibilities of mine office directly. Firstly, the treasure shall be sold for more convenient currency, thence invested into the trading port of Yidlamad. Our merchants must have their operations restored, their ships rebuilt. Commerce must flow once more. None were spared the tragedy of the final days. Of this I am well aware. But an absence was created by the loss of Kalzar's consortium. And by filling it, we provide
what of the children who were left without family to care for them?
That is a concern which weigheth heavily upon my mind. A simple gift of coin will soon be exhausted, leaving these young souls adrift on the fringes of our society. Nay, a proper solution is needed, one which doth guarantee their welfare for years to come. Thou hast surely seen how other nations rise to meet this challenge, adventurer. What dost thou deem the wisest course? We must all look out for one another. Let us put this idea into practice. A contract shall be written, requiring all who receive of Altador's treasure to commit a portion of their future earnings towards the running of an orphanage. Such an influential policy is deserving of a worthy name. A successful merchant. I believe I see thy reasoning. Kalzal should be remembered, not as the blasphemy which terrorized Thavne, but as a hard-working and generous man who brought much wealth to our shores. Do any among you object to this proposition? Many here lost loved ones to the beasts.
In that time of strife, any one of us could have broken. Any one of us may have been taken by despair. When I think of Kalzal, I feel no hatred. Only a stinging regret that we could not save him as well. Isn't that right, men?
This bodes well for that boy. Mirad, was it? Perhaps he can cut ties with that shady peddler.
Then let it be done. Henceforth, this initiative shall be known as the Kalzal Foundation. Nabdeen, thou art to assemble a patrol and ensure that no child in this city liveth in squalor. Clerks, see to the management of our funds and make haste. Our citizens must not suffer a day more than is necessary.
Dragon and man, side by side in pursuit of a brighter morrow. Reminded of Ishgard.
bridging the rift. The veteran radiant wishes to share his gratitude. Thank you for putting forth Kalzal's name. Those whose lives he enriched will take comfort in seeing his legacy honored. Sorry. You will forgive me for not speaking sooner, but I bear a message from Archon Y'shtola. She asks that you meet her at the High Crucible at your earliest convenience. Understood. Thank you. Y'shtola must have finished her study at the Void Gate. Shall we hear what she has to say then? I will go with you. Oh man, 2 days. I thought the Satrap would be too busy setting up the foundation. My clerks have been well-oiled cogs of his administration since before Ahawan assumed the office. They understand what needs to be done. And I am curious to learn what conclusions your Archon has reached concerning the gate's unique construction. As you wish, allow me to lead the way, Your Excellency. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Just gonna manually take it from here.
Right, here we all are.
You discovered something new.
I took a closer look at that device. I was able to determine how it keeps the Void Gate sealed, but not how it might instead be employed to expand the opening. For that, I would need to reference the technique developed by Vritra's alchemists, no records of which appear to have survived the intervening years.
We know this, so why have you sent for us? Have you learned aught of value or not?
Patience, good sir. One must introduce the subject before launching into specifics. From what we understand, travel between worlds is accomplished by passing through the nebulous rift which exists between them. Picture, if you will, the moment you were called to the first. You touched a focus of some kind to help the Exarch pinpoint your location. His summoning spell then channeled the energies of the Crystal Tower to begin your journey to his world. The magics tore a hole in the wall separating source and shard, and cast you into the intervening nothingness. In that place, the laws of nature hold no sway. Yet even through this realm of temporal and spatial instability, you were borne safely to your destination in the first. The feat that guided you across such an unimaginable distance, both physical and metaphorical, was nothing short of a miracle.
Then what of the many Voidsent found in the source? Who guides them here, and how?
An excellent question. Though there are several methods by which the Void's denizens might intrude upon our world, the rituals of summoning are the most typical. example, let us consider the Gargoyle, a creature of middling power. To call upon such an entity, the prospective summoner must force open a void gate. The portal lasts but a moment and is relatively small, allowing only an imp or other lesser being to squeeze through with their physical body intact. Our more powerful gargoyle, however, is too large for that. Creating a gate big enough for him would require vast amounts of energy, far beyond the reserves of any one mortal practitioner. Instead, 'tis far more common to bring over only the entity's soul. We had a taste of that ourselves when a certain exarch dragged us to the first. And just as our bodies remained in our world, the Void Sense physical form is left behind in the 13th. Once at its destination, the summoned soul is granted a temporary shell to inhabit. In the gargoyle's case, a stone effigy has proven a suitable vessel.
Wait. You said that Voidsent must be called here deliberately by someone in the source, reeled in like a fisherman with his catch.
Exactly. For a being to navigate the chaos of the rift, with or without form, there must needs be a guiding agent on the other side.
When the hordes poured forth from Alag's Great Gate, it was the technologists who drew them through. Though to my knowledge, planar fissures are in essence natural passages between our world and the void, which require no such guidance to traverse. Why is only the boundary between the source and the 13th so fragile? So much so that it often tears open of its own accord.
I believe solving that mystery is key to understanding travel between the source and its reflections.
And how do you intend to get your answers?
No. The danger is too great.
Perhaps. But what some call danger, others think of as adventure.
Were you not listening to my tale? Never mind that the means to expand the gate has been lost to the ages. Even could you force the portal wide enough, you would be greeted by an army of murderous horrors the very instant you step through.
I assure you I was most attentive, and I agree that to go alone would be certain death. But if I were to bring along one who has already braved the 13th, and humbled the Cloud of Darkness, well, I imagine my chances would be much improved. feeling you might say that. Once again, I put my life in your ever-reliable hands. That said, as much as I would like to march straight back to the Void Gate, there is the small matter of being unable to open it without the Satrap's personal authority.
As I've said before, I will grant you and yours any boon you choose to name, provided it does not endanger my people.
You have my word that we will take every precaution. Not a single Void Scent will be allowed to threaten Radzatan, assuming we manage to expand the portal in the first place.
You have a plan?
Actually, I had hoped you might help us with that. I presume the alchemists you retained supplied you with some explanation of their methodology.
That they did. House Daymir was overseeing the project.
Daymir. Ah, yes. The family associated with the great work.
I did not fully comprehend the theory, but their research began with a void scent which had slipped through the fissure. After a thorough examination, they created an arcane simulacrum possessed of similar qualities. A man-made void scent, if you will. It was apparently indispensable in their efforts to enlarge the gate.
A man-made void scent?
Yes. Being great admirers of the Archons, House Daymir submitted detailed notes to Charlene's official committee. They expected praise and accolades for their simulacrum, and were thus devastated to be informed that their work had been classified as prohibited material.
If that's true, then those notes might still be stored in a forbidden archive somewhere. Not Google, of course, since that library had yet to be built. Which leaves us with... Yes, it may very well hold a copy. In which case, I say we head directly to Sessiion.
Unless you anticipate needing help to reach the high shelves. I see myself being of little use. Go on ahead. I still need to find Mirad and tell him about the Kalzal Foundation.
Let us be on our way as well.
They are resolved to venture into the void. Do I sit idly by?
I mean, he could come with us, because that way he can find his sister, like, low-key. I'm thoroughly convinced she's over there. If we're to enter the Numenon's archives with a minimum of fuss, then we must secure the permission of the Forum. First, however, we shall need to enlist the cooperation of a member to broach the matter on our behalf. Who do you think might be inclined to assist us? Oh. That's an easy one. No one springs to mind. What of Skalak Masakain? He did come to Graha's defense during the inquiry, after all. 'Tis settled. Let's head to the phenomenon and see if he's willing to help us once more. Okay, sorry, I'm lost. I mean, as much as there's a man-made void set able to be like opened, there still needs to be a pact though, right? So wouldn't they necessarily have to first find something to do that? I mean, like I said, Diablos makes like the most sense if they do that. I apprenticed to Master Matoya at the age of 7 and labored under her tutelage for a full decade. I never had the chance to attend the Sessiion. Neither did Thancred, as I recall. Soon after Master Louisoix took him in off the streets, he was put in the care of another Archon. He was a rigorous and practical education in the arts of espionage and survival. I sometimes wondered what in my life would have been like had I pursued studies here instead. Tea the last after day of lectures. Oh, that does sound lovely. Afternoons with friends spent sipping tea and debating theories. Still, I wouldn't give up my time with Master Matoya for the world. The dank cave I studied in was about as far from bright, airy halls of academia as one could get, but it was a wondrous, magical childhood nonetheless. Ah, visitors, and quite esteemed ones at that. What may I do for you? Pray forgive the intrusion, Scholar, but we were hoping you might help us secure permission to enter Numenon's restricted archives. Oh, no further forays into the stacks this time, eh? I applaud this Newfound sense of propriety, yet in all this wide world of comparative serenity, what so compels you to disturb a vault of forbidden wisdom? Trying to figure out how to open a void gate. Fascinating. I had no idea such a technique existed. I would have been surprised if you had. If my assumption is correct, the research left behind by House Daimir has lain dormant in Charlene's archive for many centuries. And if you unearth this research, what then? Surely you don't intend to cross over to the void. That is, in fact, precisely what we intend. To what end, pray tell? To develop a method of traversing the rift, for one, that I might keep my word to a distant friend. Sentiment aside, I have journeyed to the end of existence. I have heard, felt, and thought endlessly about the truth of our world and the echo of its future. And yet, I want to understand everything, to unravel it all down to its very last secret. What scholar worthy of the name wouldn't force open a void gate or two if a grand revelation was the promised reward? Haha, marvelous. An audacious proposal worthy of Master Matoya herself. After hearing the whys and the wherefores, I, for one, do not believe you would use the knowledge for ill. I see no reason not to present your request to the forum's consideration. Although, your petition would be better received if you had also had the support of another well-placed acquaintance. What, Fortuno? Okay. Why, Master Fortuno, of course. He can hardly ignore the earnest request from his dear children's most treasured comrades. I was hesitant to approach him directly, but there is no denying that having Master Fortuno on our side would tip the balance in our favor. Very well, we will pay a visit to the Levier estate and plead our case. One last thing before you go. I would consider a personal favor if you might share with me the discoveries you make in the void. My appetite for knowledge is every bit as insatiable as yours, I'd wager, so if you could see your way to indulging an old man's curiosity... Of course, Valak. We will be sure to pass on any revelations. Good trade. Okay. Oh, the love of your state. Okay. Actually, maybe kind of far. Ah, Mr. Sidel, Mr. Zola, how may I be of service? We've come to speak with Master Fortuno. Is he home by any chance? Yes, the Master is in residence. I shall inform him that he has guests. Well, well, Millions would invite me would invite you inside for tea, but I assume this is not a social visit. You have some matter of import to discuss. Then pray proceed. You have my full attention. We need to go to the archives to find a way to open a wood gate. Yeah. Well, I suppose I should praise you for following the proper protocols this time around. Skylark Monsterkind expressed much of the same sentiment. I assure you, will not attempt to circumvent the Forum's authority again, unless it is absolutely necessary, of course. Of course. You do understand that the restricted archives are restricted for good reason, yes? If no pressing need exists, then why risk the consequences of employing this forbidden knowledge? For science. For a brother who misses his sister, she was his guardian and his friend. A selfless hero who crossed the width between worlds to save her homeland from horror and suffering. But the brother has given up the thoughts of reunion. He spends his efforts elsewhere, watching over a people, yet healing from the flames of the final days, loyal to his duty while betraying the longing in his heart. 'Tis no vital mission, perhaps, with uniting these siblings, but it feels a worthy cause to pursue all the same. As one who feared losing his own loved ones, and spent years in research to prevent it, surely you appreciate how painful such a separation must be. Reflections are still very much a mystery to us. Offering to share your experiences in the first should constitute a fair exchange for our cooperation. Do not celebrate just yet. The Forum must still be convinced. I will add your request to the list of today's deliberations and deliver the decision to you at the Baldessian Annex. Okay. Let's take the high road. So, what did the forum decide? To put it bluntly, Master Montoya has burned some bridges here in Sessiion and salted the earth for good measure. When it became clear that her student was the petitioner in question, well, no few members voiced their discontent. Then the chamber was reminded in no uncertain terms, Mad, of the incredible debt we owe to you and your companions. That serves to silence the grumbles and stiffen a few spines, and it was agreed that allowing you entry to the archives was the least we could do in return. That is wonderful news. Thank you both for speaking on our behalf. Yes, well, as I'm sure you are aware, this permission was not extended lightly. Forbidden knowledge is to be treated with the utmost caution, and there will be repercussions if it is not. I wish you well in your endeavor, and bid you good day. Hey, ever the same, that one. Uncompromising, aye, but that very stoicism is exactly what Sessiion needed to guide it through not one, but two exoduses. True. That went rather well, I think. As a child, I dreamed up any number of schemes for getting my hands on those forbidden tomes, and now I can simply walk in through the door. Our focus will be on finding House Damir's research notes, of course, but the thought of so much knowledge at my disposal has me feeling a little giddy. Restricted reading. What's a kind thing for you to offer? Further instructions, okay. You'll be heading directly to the archives from here, I presume? You presume correctly. Then you'll want to speak with the index page when you arrive. It's been instructed to grant you access to the restricted section. Excellent. Once again, we thank you for all your help. Oh, it was my pleasure. Believe me, may you find the knowledge you seek. Shall we? Okay. Let's go. To think the set of instructions I laughingly imagine may actually exist, but yalms away from where you found me napping. If I had known of Altador III's exploits sooner, I could have well saved myself days of research. Even a children's book might have pointed me in the right direction. To achieve the impossible, one must need to be flexible of mind and look beyond conventional wisdom. A lesson I had already learned, but clearly not taken to heart. Sheila and guests identified. Do you wish to proceed into the restricted archives? Yes, please. Follow me if you would. Watch your step, and please note that the use of naked flames is discouraged. No fire.
If House Damir's notes are to be found anywhere, it will be here. Let us begin.
Oh, actual? Oh. Well, I'm just remembering that, like, the trailer actually had Graha in this room. So the implication that he was giving us In the trailer, may not be what I thought it was. Untitled Goldsmith's Journal. Today in a world not my own, I met the most beautiful void-born creature. She was so unlike her ravenous brethren, eyes blazing hot with hunger, but trembling like a candle's flame, threatening to flicker out at any moment. I wonder if she is even the proper word. Such distinctions seem inconsequential, insignificant even. All that matters is the love I feel for this exquisite, transcendent being. Okay. Goldsmith's Journal. A. Primal Disquisitions. In the year 1564 of the 6th Astral Era, the Amalja summoned Ifrit, their patron god. Accounts describe the being as a gigantic lizard-like being with a potent command of fire-aspected magics. If we consider that primal summoning to act fueled by faith and prayer, it is unsurprising, if not expected, that the resulting deformed entity should manifest the appearance and powers with which it is attributed by its worshippers. What then might emerge from the ether should one who believes in an almighty omniscience attempt the same ritual? Would the scholar himself grace us with his presence, some other embodiment of divine sagacity? Could this man-made god truly be all-knowing? And if it were, whence would such knowledge arise? I myself have many questions concerning the nature of the ancient world. With no spell to transport me back to the days of old, could I instead summon a being possessed of encyclopedic wisdom of every age, yet with no means to verify its pronouncements? How could one be certain that they were true? Okay, it's about primals. Look for House Damir's research notes, but aha, epiphanies of House Damir. The following pages detail an advanced method for manipulating rift-spanning apertures as devised by Newfound, the 9th patriarch of House Damir. We present these research notes to the faculty of Charlene's studium as both a token of our friendship and an expression of our boundless admiration. Okay. Have something to show me, do you? My apologies, I flipped open but a single book and was completely absorbed by the contents. I don't blame you. Yeah, I feel like the thing that was in the trailer is going to be related to this moment, actually. Well done, Dell. I think you may have found our prize. Which means that the trailer actually had more information than just the primary expansion.
Yes, the ether signature is unmistakable. I've felt the traces of House Damir's resonance many times at the Great Work. Time to see what all the fuss was about. Among the ranks of the Void Sent, there exist entities with the power to call forth their brethren from beyond. The species known as Atomos, however, is uniquely prodigious in this regard. From its distended maw, it can expel an endless procession of void-born creatures, a talent which sorely tested the Radiant Host in its battles against these abominations. Surmising that the entity itself was acting as a void gate, we endeavored to capture a small specimen and subsequently examine its physiological structure. Our findings reveal that the Atomos had absorbed a planar fissure into its own flesh, which it could expand at will into a functioning gate. Upon further analysis, we identified an ethereal wave pattern emitted during this process. A pattern we were able to emulate by passing crystal-stored ether through a specially designed prism. We proceeded to embed said prism into an arcane simulacrum, thus completing what we have dubbed our artificial Atomos. How could I have been so blind to the possibilities? This species, not to mention its ability to summon void scent, has been discussed among academics for years now. Just before the advent of the 7th Umbral Calamity, we received reports of Atomos sightings from every corner of Eorzea. Surely you've at least heard the tales. And still, House Daemir went and built a mock Atomos of their very own. I'm not surprised the Archons consigned their work to a restricted archive. It was no easy task, but at last we've unearthed the volume we've been searching for. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted to stay longer. See what other forbidden titles might be lurking on these shelves. Ah, but that would be abusing the very special privilege we've been granted now, wouldn't it? Better not.
That actually makes a lot of sense, though. I wouldn't have seen that coming. As much as I would love to start crafting the Atomos, I'm afraid this is far outside my field of expertise. Fortunately, we know a Hainish alchemist who would be delighted to involve herself in House Daemir project. Our business here is concluded for the moment. Please pass on our regards to the forum. Your message will be conveyed should you wish to indulge in more forbidden literature. I will be here. Patron mode disabled, security mode engaged. If anyone can help us, Nitana can. I say we return to Thavnir and look for her at the great work. Yeah, so I mean, Thomas is able to, like, obviously, like, they absorb stuff, but to eat like a void gate is. I mean, aren't they also void sent? Stoll told me you are pursuing a most fascinating study and that you want me to be part of it. I have no doubt you'll be interested. This research log should speak for itself. Will it now? By the sisters, this is a mark of House Daemir. I've never even knew such a work existed. Few should. It was sequestered in Numenon's restricted archives after all. It was, but that means every word within is forbidden knowledge. A forbidden tome filled with forbidden research, and you put it right into my unsuspecting hand? I can hardly wait to read it. To think that Daemir were developing such marvelous technology so long ago, how many innovations have been lost over the centuries, I wonder. Now that you've glanced over the notes, what say you to helping us build a new mock of Atomos? I say yes, 1,000 times yes. Work on a Daemir project that had even the redoubtable scholars of Sharlayan trembling in their sandals, no alchemist of the great work could resist. You are a woman after my own heart. Oh, I suppose I should ask, what do you mean to do with this big-mouthed simulacrum once we've built it? Well, we're going to use it to eat a planar fissure that is, hiding. So, there's a secret void gate, and it's sealed in the ruins at the bottom of the bounty. Today is a day of revelations indeed. If the purpose of our man-made Atomos is to expand this hidden portal, then I will need to see it for myself, I think. Manipulating rift-spanning apertures is not the sort of thing you want to attempt without first taking into account every single factor. Then by all means, accompany us to the vault. I plan to lead us back there shortly, once we finish gathering the components I require. What do you need to make a market? What? Charlotte's markets provided the raw aquamarine and pure water crystals, but I might need help obtaining a small quantity of astrally infused water. For such a liquid, you need to go no further than the fonts of Maya. The aesthetics of old once favored the place of their meditations, and the water which pools there now is known to enliven the flow of ether. That sounds perfect. If you would be so kind as to fill some flask at the pool, I will petition Vitrus to join us. The idea I have in mind won't amount to much without his authority to command the Void Gate. Shall we be about it then? We'll meet back here anon. Okay, I gotta get some water. Some ether infused water. But Atlas isn't, well, I mean, okay. Atlas doesn't take me like for a water-based creature though. I do wonder though. Creating a mock Adamus is going to be very interesting to see how they pull that off. Oh, don't you dare. Come on, man. I want to bother you. But yeah, creating one of the... I mean, there seems to be a lot of factors that kind of come into play with what they want to do and kind of like how they plan to do it. Building a mock Adamus seems like very interesting, but also the Void Gate and the pack necessary for that too. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Get that fast for me. Yes, here you go. Yes, this should suffice. Thank you, Adele. Alright. Void Theory. So let's get into the part of the vaults. Look what I came across. Sessiion seemed in need of diversion, and we, in turn, may have need of his lance. Right then, now that our little party is assembled, let us make our way to the ruins. What? Will we have need of Metzi's boat again? Not this time. Once you so inform me of our destination, I arranged for our vessels to be made ready at Achiali. Your Excellency is ever the gracious host. Shall we? I wonder if there's going to be, like... an attempt to open the gate, and when we get there... My fear is that something will come out of that gate. Basically. Because there only needs to be some kind of physical vessel, right? So like a, you know... Like I wonder if they can take over like a Simulacrum or something. That'd be kind of crazy though. The ship is yours to command. Our thanks. We set sail at once. This is so exciting. Altador's legacy, to see the truth of a legend with my own eyes. All aboard for the treasure vaults. Wow.
The ruins alone were impressive enough, but I never dreamed such a treasure lay hidden in the depths of the bounty. It may have been helpful to know this device existed, Your Excellency.
My apologies. The gate was a secret I shared with none but my closest advisors. I feared for what might happen should those with ill intentions learn of its existence.
What is it you're doing now?
There's something I wish to verify. The NOAA reports claim that a short stint into the void carries little risk of etheric imbalance. Should one suffer an injury, however, or if one's expedition drags on longer than intended, that risk becomes significantly greater. Graha theorized that a warding scale would confer protection from the void's corrupting influence. But I would prefer to test that hypothesis before we set foot in the 13th ourselves.
So, this is an experiment of sorts?
Yes, an experiment. Tell me, how would you go about testing the efficacy of the warding scale? Very good. I see you've been paying attention. As Vritra sent his simulacrum, so too shall we rely on a familiar to bear the brunt of any unpleasant consequences. Now, a lowly imp can navigate a fissure, no matter how narrow. Which means an arcane entity of similar stature should be able to manage the same. I hadn't wanted it to come to this, but no other familiars will do, I'm afraid.
I mislike the sound of that. What manner of fiend does she mean to summon?
From ocean rise and cloudbank form, from mountain spring and rainfall storm, from river flow and life be born.
Water, water, froth and fire!
Ready your arms. I fear she's been possessed.
Oh, come now. That was adorable.
Uh-oh.
Though not my first choice, these familiars I conceived of as a child have the best chance of fitting through the gate. I only wish my younger self had considered a more dignified ending to the creation ritual. In any case, these two should serve as well. This one will bear a warding scale. And when they return from the 13th, we can observe how the talisman, or absence thereof, has affected the progress of the Void's corruption. If I could impose upon you to open the gate. Your Excellency?
Ah, yes, of course.
We should also be wary of void scent slipping through while we conduct our experiment. Estinian, you are to keep Nadana safe from harm.
As you say.
You had best be on your guard as well. And we are glad for it. Let us begin, shall we? Nixies, into the void. think we've waited long enough. Nixies, return to my side. Thank you, little one. You did well.
The poor thing. Its essence has been irrevocably warped.
We're out of time. I must reseal the Void Gate.
They're coming through!
In the name of Altador III, I bar this door unto the void.
Well, that was a sharp lesson in the dangers of void gates.
Seriously, though.
And what of our experiment? I'd say the results speak for themselves.
The unprotected Nixie has suffered extensive etheric corruption. As Nidana observed, it's well on its way to becoming a void scent. The one merged with the talisman, however, appears unaffected. I sense no changes to its equilibrium. Rest now, little ones.
Graha's theory was correct, then.
So it would seem. But while our second familiar was untouched by void energies, the talisman itself shows signs of degradation. It was, of course, originally designed to shield the soul from primal tempering. It stands to reason that etheric corruption of a different sort would affect it differently. We may need to modify the warding scale's design to account for the 13th's uniquely unstable ether.
You've said much of the Void's instability, but my imagination fails me. What manner of place is this broken world?
Ah, my apologies. I forget that not all of us spend our days sequestered in dusty archives. The 13th is a reflection of the source that was drowned in a flood of darkness. In Emmett Selk's own words, this tragedy was a result of the Sessiion's attempts to force a rejoining. They erred in their haste, and made of that world a useless void. And what of your own experience? Will you tell us of what you observed during Noah's expedition? I can picture it now. The sunless, Stygian expanse, infested with legions of ether-starved monstrosities. A void in every sense of the word.
What you have described in such lurid detail is exactly why I hesitate to encourage you.
Worry not, great Vritra. Our journey into the 13th is but the first leg of a longer voyage. A voyage that shall lead us to other reflections, to new mysteries and discoveries. And I mean to be there every step of the way. But first I must focus on refining the warding talisman.
Then I can begin work on constructing an artificial Atomos. Or I could if I had the relevant manuals to hand. Might I be so bold as to request access to the Satrap's family archives? Your Excellency?
Oh, yes. That can be arranged. I will speak to my officials upon our return.
We will see you back in the city then.
A satrap's duty. You still upon us next stage of your preparations to enter the void. Once they're done succeeds in replicating the Makatamas, the door into the 13th will be ours to open. Will you be crossing the threshold alongside us? I realize this is more my endeavor than yours. To be honest, I have no interest in visiting the void myself. Might we discuss this later? There is something I must do first. Okay. Why does everyone insist on being so secretive? I at least had good reason for not wanting to explain myself like Mixie ritual. Shall we proceed with our other preparation then? As we saw, the warding scale can be effective at protecting the bearer from our other sources of etheric corruption. Nevertheless, the talisman's durability will need to be improved if it is to withstand the void's influence for a prolonged length of time. And I think that it's a problem we can address without involving the brilliant but busy alchemist who created it. Who do we know who excels at this kind of structural augmentation? I mean, we do know the ironwork people. An excellent suggestion. As I recall, Seth himself is no stranger to the void and its volatile energies. With his experienced hand at the helm, I have every confidence that the ironworks can strengthen the warden scale. Come, let us visit the operation in Endwalker's Reach and commission their best and brightest. No, what brings you to the ironworks? We have a commission for you and your president, actually. Assuming he's available. Master said, certainly. I'll see if he has a moment free. Pleasure as always. I hear you have a job for us. We do. We have a talisman upgrading. Heading into the voids to find a lost dragon. That sounds almost pedestrian compared to your last adventure. Honestly, I don't know if you could say anything that would surprise me after Meteon in that bloody mess. Let's take a look at this talisman of yours. You said that there were signs of degradation? It seems some manner of corrosion has set in around a scratch on its surface, much as the void's corruption seeped into the Nero through his wounds, in which case our best bet may be to simply prevent the scale from being damaged in the first place. And how might we achieve that? We have a coating agent for strengthening trinkets and the like, but I'd be wary of applying any compound which might upset the scale's delicate alchemical balance. Far safer to dress it in armor. Like a suit? We'll construct a protective casing, one utilizing metal alloys with high etherical conductivity, so as not to impede the talisman's primary function. A suit of armor, as you said. Nero has compiled data on the 13th, so I'll have him pitch in with the design just to be sure. If only it weren't such an ordeal to convince it to follow our safety protocols, I swear. I've never had such a reckless employee. In any case, we may need some time to untangle the particulars. Understandable. We know how busy your schedule is, and the final result will doubtless be worth the wait. The hard part will be ducking Jessie and her constant barrage of demands while we sneak about doing the fun stuff. We'll see what we can do. Like a Power Ranger suit, can you imagine? Crazy, actually. I think we can leave the rest in Sis' capable hands. Let's return to the great work and see how Didon is getting on with the mock Atomus.
Stola, the adjustments are going well, I hope?
'Tis a lengthy process, but the end is in sight, yes.
That's wonderful news. I myself had some good fortune searching through the Satrap's private records. What I found was a transaction log dated around the same period as when Altador's legacy was built. It included a purchase list of highly exclusive alchemical components, and I knew I'd discovered the key to making the artificial Atomus. I then visited the High Crucible to commission the materials. After I'd explained my requirements, I was beset by volunteers insisting I allow them to help with the entire project.
I actually think I saw it.
The usual reaction to someone forcing open a void gate is to run for the hills. Harnish academics certainly are a different breed.
The alchemists of old were cut from a similar cloth. The unknown held no fear for them. Indeed, they were ever eager to seek new knowledge, regardless of the danger.
And were you not also fearless, heedless even, in your determination?
Oh no, it's different.
My sire entered his dormancy before I was hatched. And so it was Ashdaya who kept my eggs safe and warm. It created a bond between us. Even long after I learned to fend for myself, I rarely strayed from her side. She was my guardian, my sister, my dear companion. And not a single day passes that I do not mourn her absence. No matter how deep the darkness, I would not surrender my search. I promised myself the time would come when we would once more take to the skies together. But I am satrap now.
The Radiant Host is here to serve, Your Excellency.
Navdeen, what is this about?
Sessiion told us of your predicament. For centuries you have protected Radzat Han, never showing your true self, hiding behind a curtain and living only in service to the people. Your dedication meant more to us than your deceit, and so did we accept you as our rightful ruler. After all that you have sacrificed for this nation, did you imagine we would begrudge you your heart's desire? We survived the final days. We are a strong and proud people. We, the Radiant Host, will keep Thavnair safe in your absence.
I am grateful for your loyalty and for your encouragement. And yet...
Now you listen to me, Varshan! You are wearing that face, after all. As I have told you before, you are a little brother to us all. And if you are family, then so too is your sister. We are there for you if you need us. But do not ask us to sit by and watch while you abandon a sibling you have ached to rescue for millennia.
We will succeed in opening the way. It is only a matter of time. All you need do is prepare to step through to the other side.
Your Excellency, I wanted to thank you for building the orphanage. It means so much that my sister and I will have a place to be together, safe and happy. And I hope that you and your sister can be together again too.
Take heart and protect them well. Such were the words I once said to you, and here I stand, failing to live up to them. If my heart is torn, I am fit to protect neither Ajdaya nor Radzat Han. My people, I have come to a decision. Varshan will depart Thavnair for a time. My dragon self will remain in the palace, but only to conduct the satrap's most essential duties. While I am focused on controlling this vessel, there may be matters that escape my attention. I rely on you, my trusted friends, to watch over one another until I return.
Take care and fair fortune, little brother. Many tears would be shed should you come to harm.
I would not dare make you cry.
Yo. Okay. You surprise me, Sessiion. For a lone wolf, you've shown an unusual degree of, shall we say, involvement in helping Vitra reach this conclusion. 'Twas for the greater good. The worm's thundering sighs were keeping his citizens awake at night and had travelers believing the palace racked by some unnatural storm. What of your own answer then? You seem disinclined to venture into the void. When I was one with Nidhogg, his vengeful thoughts were my thoughts, his endless rage my rage, and the soul-chilling grief he nursed for Ratatusker's death. I would not wish such agony upon a foe, let alone a friend and ally. If there is a chance we spare Vitra that pain, then I will follow you. It's an unusual crew we have here. Indeed, but perfect for our purpose, I should think. I'd rather not bother the Scions with aught less than the dire threat to the star. Now, on to specifics. Unlike the first, where the flood of light was halted before its devastation was complete, the 13th has been utterly subsumed by darkness. My plan as such is to explore the void in stages, withdrawing safely after each brief foray. 'Twould be more convenient had we had some manner of base camp nearer to the gate itself. One of the palace chambers should serve. Come, let us reconvene outside Megaduda. Varshan, I can totally perceive them turning him into like a party member, which will bring me to theory and say that he will be the new job that comes out next expansion. And because he's small, I think he'll be like a scouting job, like a two-handed, like a not like a ninja per se, but something that uses that same gear. That's really cool, actually. Okay. And so we will require suitable accommodations. Might we make something available for our guests? All the chambers are presently hosting the great mounds of treasure we carry out of the vault. Once Foundation's activities begin in earnest, however, we can redistribute the trove and make room for or two ready for habitation. Good. Please inform me when you've completed the arrangements. As you heard, we will have you settled in Megaduta in due time. As ever, you are most gracious, Your Excellency. You risk yourselves to aid me in my search for Ashdaya. Providing comfortable quarters is the least I can do. I only wish we knew more about our destination. The gods only know how long our explorations might possibly take, or what chances of success might possibly be. Succeed or fail, I am grateful to you for convincing me to make that attempt. On that note, I will return to the great work and lend what help I can to Nidhana. If you've preparations to make ere we venture into the 13th, now is the time. All I need is my armor and my lance. Perhaps I'll train with the Radiant Host to pass the time before we depart. You know what this means to me, Adele, but my purpose need not consume you as well. We are headed to another world. Find what joy you can in the experience, for you are a traveler, an adventurer at heart, this I know. Wait, it's not the same. Is that Xenos? What the? What? That's not Gomez. Oh. What is this? Who is this?
Unless I am returned. To be swallowed, bereft of savours.
That paths on walk, adventurous spur, pulses quicken, spirits stir. Okay, but who the frick was that? What? Okay. Crazy. Theoretically, I have no idea. My only current theory for like funsies is that he will become a party member and it's gonna be amazing. But who the frick was that? Let me know. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching.